everyone, welcome to After Class with Ballet for All,
a podcast by two passionate adult ballerinas about all things adult ballet related.
and some random thoughts in between.
We're so glad you're here.
So grab your water bottle
Or a cup of coffee.
and join us for a quick chat after class.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, I'm sure you guys maybe just noticed that we have a new voice on the podcast. We are so excited today because we have our first guest. We have Stacy, who is part of the Ballet for All community, and she just has an awesome story of being an adult ballet dancer. And so we are so excited to have her today so that we can interview her and share her story with you. So thank you so much, Stacy, for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Hannah and Miss Elena. I am so honored and excited to be here with you all as part of the Ballet for All community.
It's so lovely to have you, Stacy. We've been talking about inviting you for so long. We've been tracking all your progress and your life story since like a few months ago, and we've been so excited to finally have you with us. So let's start with a little bit of an introduction of your name, where are you living at the moment, and a little bit more of a background, like personal background as who you are.
Sure, absolutely. It's my pleasure. And thank you again. So greetings to the Ballet for All community out there. So excited to be here. My name is Stacy Santos. I am an adult ballerina. I am a dancer. I am 54 years old. I'll be 55 this year in July, so I'm very excited to be on this journey as I approach my 55th birthday. I'm originally from Rhode Island, which is actually not far from where I live now, which is in Manhattan, New York. I live on the Upper West Side, and I love it here. So I've been very grateful to be able to transition and move to New York City. I am a single mother of two children who are grown and adults, 25 and 28. So very excited for having raised my children by myself and seeing them in their own successes. To that end, it was important to me to, restart my ballet journey now that I have fulfilled those important duties of raising children who are now adults and just really trying to find myself in this world, in the dance world, in that vein. Professionally, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 29 years. I'll make 30 years in July. So I'm very excited about that. I've had a wonderful nursing career. I'm an Army veteran as well. I spent some time in the Army Reserves. So I have in the Nurse Corps. So I have sort of an eclectic experience, but at the heart and soul of me is dance and ballet specifically. Although I do take all forms of dances, particularly now that I'm in New York, I just can't contain myself. But that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, you've had such a full life, it sounds like, just so many experiences and still so young. It's just really amazing. So specifically with ballet, where did that start for you? Did it start for you when you were a kid and you kind of came back to it as an adult, or did you begin for the first time as an adult?
So my journey started when I was very young, and knowing my mother, who was my biggest fan and supporter of dancing. She probably had me dancing at 2. But my probably most recent, memories would be probably around 9 years old. And then as I got into 11, 12, 13, 16, I was, as we all were at that time, quite inspired by the movie Fame, right? I had to say it because it really just was so instrumental to us at that time. And I just knew this is what I wanted to do. Dancing was what I would do. So I danced all through high school. I was a student teacher at my local studio in Rhode Island. And then I went on to pursue dance in college for a brief time. I attended Towson, what was then Towson State University, now Towson University, in their dance performance and education program. I did not finish that program. I left dance behind, decided to take the more conservative path. And I do say that for a reason, because I think there's something in that for all of us. And left dance completely and went on lifing. And so I went on, had my children, married, divorced, army, nursing career, just living life. And then in 1999 to 2001, I opened a small school in the state of Rhode Island called First Steps, in collaboration with the Boys and Girls Clubs to reach youth who were traditionally denied opportunities just because they either didn't have the money or they didn't have access, they didn't have transportation. So I opened a small studio and then moved the program to the Boys and Girls Clubs in an area of Providence, Rhode Island called Fox Point. Shout out to all my Fox Pointers. They were instrumental in this very small but very fruitful program. I worked with Karen Brito, Carol Oliveira. We worked with all of the alumni of the Boys and Girls Club, and we were able to bring the arts into the city. And our children that participated learned skills of interviewing, how to apply for programs, how to do college applications, how to have etiquette, stage performing. I mean, we really broadened the scope. I did that for 3 years, and then my family responsibilities were a lot, so I left. In 2020, just before we had the pandemic, I decided I wanted to embark on an adult ballet journey. And so that's when I really started at that time to say, okay, it's time for me to really shift gears here. Was my children grown and my son graduated college and it was my baby. And I said, it's time for me to really shift. And so as soon as I started, the pandemic hit. And we rolled into this sort of, online and virtual extravaganza, if you will, of being able to connect. And so I had the amazing opportunity to do some coaching with the infamous Joy Womack, who actually coached me online and actually got me ready for my Army physical fitness test. It was amazing, through Ballet, believe it or not. So shout out to all my veterans and those who are serving. It's possible. And that was my first online experience, was with her, because at that time, the ballet was not taking place and people were not able to perform. And so they started opening the virtual doors of coaching, even for people as elite as Joy Womack, who I adore. And so that's where it really started for me online. And then I was living in Baltimore at the time, and I started to explore. And it just kind of took off from there. I started to get involved in intensives. Amy Novinsky, her adult intensive in Philly. Orlando Ballet had an intensive. I did that. DuCon, I did that. And I just started on this journey of trying to really reconnect and refine myself. And it ultimately led me to find Miss Elena on Ballet for All, where I continued my education, where I found my deep passion for Cuban technique, and which I bring with me here to New York when I am in every class. And it then eventually, with her help, it led me to my journey here at Steps on Broadway in their International Independent Study Program. So here I am. And that's a kind of long, but winded, but it really started when I was so young and brought me through all of these changes throughout my life to culminate to this point.
Yeah, such a beautiful journey. It's just incredible.
Such an amazing experience. Like, I didn't know, Stacy, about your the studio that you opened, and it almost brings tears, because I have been so privileged of learning ballet for free since I was little, and I never knew how hard it was for someone else to make the dream come true. And now that I'm out of Cuba and I know how difficult it is, I just feel like, wow, I'm so glad that you were, even though it was 2, 3, 4 years, you did try and you help and you did change for sure, and you make a difference in someone else's life. for that short time, for sure. And I just understand how much ballet or dance actually can help to shape lives. Like just having that social interaction or learning, just getting dressed, having your hair done, and following some certain rules, it can actually shape you for life. And wow, that to me was really, really interesting.
Well, your comments about just, I always call it looking the part, and you will feel the part. Being in uniform, I'm used to being in uniform, a nurse, military, I'm used to those things, but you translate these things into the ballet. And when you leave that, when you go into that class prepared and ready, and you, whether you feel like a ballerina that day or whether your body is not, you don't feel your body. I'm there. I'm 54. I mean, my body's not the core, and yet you enter the studio with this mindset that I'm a ballerina. You have your bun, you have your outfit, your uniform, you're prepared. And it just elevates your mentality so much. And the experience, it just puts you in a frame of mind. And then when you leave the stage in your other activities of life, whether it be mothering, your job, you may hike, or you may do a youth group, you may go to a spiritual organization, whatever you do, it elevates you because you take that piece from the studio with you. And you take those skills, as Miss Elena said, of being prepared, right? And being, looking the part and being ready into your life. And it really does change discipline. I believe it's just the discipline associated with it can really impact other parts of your life deeply.
So I'm curious because I know Miss Elena and I have talked about this, and now knowing that you danced as a child and coming back as an adult, there's challenges I feel like I've experienced. It's different. Like we're in different bodies, now that we're older. And what are some of the challenges that you feel like you've faced coming back as an adult versus when you were training as a child?
Yeah, that's like the loaded question that we're all facing as adult ballerinas, right? I think the first challenge that I faced was myself. Truly getting myself to the point where I was comfortable with my body. And I had gained quite a bit of weight. And it's not necessarily about how much you weigh or how much you don't. It's about how healthy you feel. And I say that a lot because ballet is for everyone, regardless of your shape, your type, whatever. It's for everyone. And so we just want to be healthy in this pursuit. And so for me, I had to really get over myself, and knowing that getting on a camera was difficult alone. At least I was in my virtual environment, which I did for so long, and I didn't have anyone around me. But when I started to get into the classroom again and be in person in the pink tights, right? And I say that because, those of us, it's like, oh my goodness, I have to put the pink tights on, and how do I look, and how, this, that, and it's very challenging. And so really overcoming that and just saying, I'm comfortable being me, and I am going to be beautiful being me in this space, wherever that space is, and really just pushing through those insecurities. And so I would encourage anyone today who's out there, regardless of you're tall, you're short, you're thin, you're not, your feet, beautiful turnout, not, your leg goes up to your ear or it goes 1 inch off the floor. You are valued in that space, and you create that from yourself. You create that from within you when you come into the space. And so really just doing the inner work. I think physically, huge challenges, because your body just can't do what it used to do. So the consistent and daily efforts of stretching, conditioning, recovery, rest, those are the things that I just cannot overemphasize. I can't emphasize them enough. Rest, recovery, conditioning, consistency. Those things are so important. They're just as important as the classes. And I know you both probably, would agree that it's just imperative that you are deliberate about how you move about in your daily ballet schedule. How do you move about in that so that you can balance your responsibilities in life and you can balance your responsibilities and your passion for dance, but also see the gains that you want without injuring yourself.
When I think back about dancing as a kid, I don't even remember having to think about recovery from taking classes. It was like, go take class, just go about your day. Like, I don't remember ever icing or stretching after class. And now it's like, I can't imagine not having those things. It's like you said, it's absolutely 100% necessary. It's like, if I'm taking class, I'm doing recovery after. It's not like an optional thing at this point.
It's really not optional. I tried it. Like, I would leave class and then I would leave right away when I'm at steps. And I'm just, I'm so, at first, now I'm really comfortable, but everyone is so amazing in the studio. It's like you're really conscious. So I would go to class and leave. And I do not do that anymore. I always have a spiky ball, a roller ball, a roller, something, anything, a tennis ball, whatever you can come across. And most of the dancers in the community there are doing that same thing. Everyone is doing the same thing. So we're all kind of in the same boat. You just don't know it till you start talking to people. And so it's the recovery piece is just, even the shoes I wear now are recovery shoes. Everywhere, even at work, I have 2 pair, one at work and one at home, and I wear recovery shoes 24/7. So I encourage people to, look for those resources, and I'm happy to share any of the ones that I come up with for you to share with your viewers.
We want to do a whole episode just on recovery. I think we'll probably do that pretty soon because I feel like it is such a important topic within the adults community also. So we'd love to get some of like your favorites and put them in the episode. It'd be awesome. So Yelena, you want to take us with the last question for this part 1 of this interview?
Now we know that you've done in-person classes and online classes. So what would you say that are the pros and cons of both? And what is your general takeaway from doing both in-person and online classes?
First of all, let me say I love my online classes. I love online classes. And I want your viewers to know, if they have not embarked on a journey of taking online classes, do not underestimate the power of the virtual classroom. I cannot say it enough. I auditioned to come to Steps, and I have to say this with Miss Yelena on the podcast. I auditioned for Steps, and I came to Miss Yelena and I said, I have to do a contemporary audition. And I don't know how to get on the floor and off the floor safely. And I'm panicking because I know that I'm going to have to do that. And I'm not a contemporary dancer. And she took the time virtually to show me how to get on and off the floor safely. And let me tell you, I came to this audition, and with that virtual time spent, I got on and off the floor safely, and I made it. And so thank you, Miss Yelena. But I had to share that story because the power of virtual training, it is so powerful to be in your own space with yourself, especially when you're starting out, and to be able to process your thoughts, have a question, a conversation, walk away and not have to leave a location to go to a different location to try to practice what you just learned so you don't forget it when you get from point A to B. You just there's a privacy and an intimacy about it with yourself where you become very much in touch with your journey. You just have so much time with self and your very intimate ballet community and your teacher. And if you do private, it's sky's the limit. You can tackle whatever you want to tackle. And I will tell you, I do take a virtual class, even here in New York City right now, for Martha Graham technique. One of my teachers at Steps does privates for that. And that's a whole other part of the next step of the journey because I'm getting into modern dance. But, and so I'm doing virtual privates with her, even though I'm in a city where I can take class anywhere and everywhere with the best of the best. So I say that to say you cannot underestimate the power of the virtual classroom. So I would say that's the pro. The con is that eventually you will have to get used to being in a classroom with others. And if you do want to perform, you will have to get comfortable having others around you, have the distractions around you, and also just being comfortable being in front of other people. I think that's sounds basic, but for us as adults, it's probably bigger than we think, again, probably in our own mind. In-person classes, absolutely love them. Have never taken so many since I came here, since I was 19 years old. So I've had to enter spaces that I never thought I would. I take street styles, hip hop, modern, jazz, tap, ballet. And I just never saw myself entering these spaces awkwardly. It's awkward sometimes, and it can make you very insecure. That's probably a con. Classes are large, so you don't always get an individualized attention that you can get in the virtual environment. So you have to be a bit prepared for that. And I do think that you just really, it just sometimes you have to really be comfortable in your own skin and say, if I come in here and I don't do the greatest or I make mistakes, I'm okay with that. I'm still beautiful and I belong in this space. I think that has been the biggest challenge for me because I really am in a beginner class with people who are really intermediate, advanced, like beginners, not really beginner here in the city. And so it's really challenging, but I just refuse to give up. And I think that's the biggest thing, that coming into the in-person environment, just know that whoever you are out there, you belong in that space and you are beautiful and you're all right in that space. And the truth is, no one's looking at you. That's the truth. No one's looking at you. You're looking at you. Everyone's looking at themselves. So go in and with confidence and dress the part, be prepared and ready, and just enjoy the dance.
It's so funny you've said that exact same thing on this podcast, that because I tell myself that all the time when I get self-conscious in my in-person classes. Is like, no one's looking at you. No one's looking at you. Everyone's looking at themselves because we're all doing the same thing. We're all looking at ourselves in the mirror, being our own worst critic and stressing out. And it's like everyone's just thinking about themselves. Like no one even noticed. So I feel like that's actually a really helpful mental hack to just tell yourself of no one's looking at you, because it's so true. But yeah, I just
it's very true.
I have so much admiration for you, just like going into your programs in New York, because as we're going to get into in the second part of the episode, I know it's a very high level of dancing in New York, and I'm sure it's scary. Like I would be freaked out to take a class in New York. And I'm just like, you're doing it. Like you're doing it and you're inspiring so many people as you're doing it. So we're really excited because we're going to stop this episode here, but we're going to come back next week with part 2 and hear more specifically about Stacy's journey in New York. So thank you guys so much for listening to part 1. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week on part 2.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to After Class with Ballet for All.
Join the community on YouTube and Instagram, or come dance with us, our weekly Zoom classes for adult ballerinas like you.
Links included in the episode description. Special thank you to our sponsors.
See you next time after class. Podcast produced by Mission Bridge Media.